Welcome everyone to Fuzz TV. I am Peter, that is Tara. We talk about TV shows here. The year is 2022 and the name of the show is Babylon 5. This is the In the Beginning TV movie, which takes place between seasons 4 and seasons 5. Well, I say takes place, it released in that time. It actually takes place a little bit in the future and mostly in the past. But you know what I meant. It came out here. So, spoilers for the movie, TV movie, and we'll get into it. The premise of this is basically Londo in the future, Emperor Londo, as we've seen before, with the nice little surprise at the end. It's literally the day that we saw him before. Obviously this is the time period we saw when he's in the future, but at the end of the episode it's like, oh no, this is like the same day. But basically he's entertaining some Centauri kids that are running around, and they end up in the throne room, and he decides to be nice to them and asks them, ask the kid what he wants. He puts his little emperor necklace thing around him, and the kid says, I want a story, and his sister wants a true story. So he tells them the story of the Earth Minbari War, which is what this is. It's this like a half recap, half expansion of this part of like Babylon 5 mythology, and so that's basically what it is. And we see where a lot of our main characters were at the time. Some of them factor into the plot more than others just because they're naturally involved. Some are less involved and just get a quick scene. It was nice to see Ivanova though, given that we know she's not going to be in season 5. Yeah. She's got her weird short haircut in this, which I speculate is the haircut that she has in whatever other show she was doing, and why she couldn't be 5.
Or it's a wig.
Sure.
Could be a wig, because they just need her to look younger.
But she has a lot of hair though before? Like, how do you hide all that hair under that wig? I don't believe you could do it.
The haircut she had seemed a little poofed up. I think it could have been a wig. Okay.
Admittedly, I've never dealt with a wig, but I'm feeling pessimistic that luscious bushy hair that she has could fit under that. But we'll hey, we'll see. Or not, it'll just be a mystery. Maybe someone will know. Someone will tell us in the comments. Ivanova Hairgate. But yes, I think what I appreciate about this is just kind of how, even though it is mostly a prequel because it's the story of the Earth Minbari War, I did like some of the little tidbits here or there that were kind of like in the future that were kind of hinting at certain things, and it fit into like what we know already about so much of the mythology. I was a little dubious getting into it though, because I tend to get a little, I'm not a big prequel guy. I tend to find them to be a little redundant and just a little bit, you get a few nice details here or there, but by and large am I going to feel like it was necessary, and a lot of it ends up being just referencing things that we already know about in some way. So I was a little bit wondering how I was going to feel about it going in. So how did you feel about In the Beginning?
It's okay. I have some things I don't really like about it. It's a fun concept to see our guys all baby faced with just for men hair, and I do think their voices are pitched up a little bit to make them sound more youthful, and I don't think it's just a copy of the film I watched, because I think when you hear like Londo and stuff, he sounds perfectly normal, but the cast that are supposed to sound younger, their voices have been altered, which is a bit distracting, but I understand why they do it, because that's such a thing that doesn't work when people try to play a younger version of themselves and they still sound old. So I appreciate the attempt. I do think like shoehorning in Jakar and Franklin and even Sheridan into the story is a bit odd. Like, it's fine. I can accept it if that's really what happened, or if this is just Londo's version of what happened. I think that would make more sense to me. Like, these are characters that I know, people I know, so I'm going to include them as characters in the story.
Oh, sure. I agree with Franklin I think. I would say Sheridan, outside of maybe one extra thing they have him do, we knew he was the one who took down a ship. So when they get to that point, that had to be him. That's something we've known about this whole time.
I'm talking about something afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah. But so I think that makes sense. Jacquard's inclusion does make sense to me. Admittedly, it is a little bit convenient in a TV way that the representative for both the Narn and the Centauri are the ones that we know from later in the show. That feels a little convenient in a TV way. But at the very least, though, I understand that, or accept that, if they're talking to those governments, these are the type of characters who do that kind of work. So it does make some sense, at least. I think the shoehorning in of Franklin and an Ivanova scene are the ones that feel a bit more, and I don't even mind, say the first Franklin scene, because this was something that Franklin talked about in the show. It was something that he brought up, that he had this ethical problem where they wanted to use his work on Minbari to help kill Minbari, and he had a problem with that. So that one scene on its own where they come and kind of arrest him because he won't cooperate, I thought that was all we're going to see of him, and I was completely happy with that scene. This made sense. This fit into what we knew his inclusion in the war was to some extent. When he ends up in a room with Sheridan, and it's like you're going on a mission together, I was like, okay, now this feels a bit like prequel bullshit, where I'm like, I never got the vibe that they went on a secret mission before this point.
Yeah, the fact that when we meet, Sheridan in season 2, he's not like, oh, it's good to see you again, or is he? Even with Shakar and stuff, they all went on this important secret mission together. They don't talk about it ever.
Yeah, I don't remember how he reacted to Jakar the first time we met him. I mean, the one person he definitely knew was Ivanova, which is funny because that's the one person he doesn't talk to in this episode. But what I do like about that is that obviously she joins up after her brother's death, which is what this episode kind of pokes at, because we see her with her brother. So that makes sense.
It's in the story that Londo's telling to children, because she has nothing else to do with it, or even her brother.
Yeah. I feel like that's something that comes up a lot whenever you have a story where a character tells someone else a story. There's always parts of it that are more for the audience than they are for the characters who are hearing the story.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially for a TV movie, for a TV show that's already been on for 4 seasons. So, this isn't The Gathering where it's the pilot episode. No. That's a movie also where you're introducing everything. You have to be a fan to watch this movie.
Absolutely. And maybe it'd be interesting after you've seen the whole thing to put it in chronological order, but I would never recommend this as your first thing, because so much of it only means something because you know what's going on, or because you know where it's leading to.
I think I brought this up before. I rewatched The Gathering maybe last year, and I watched it on the HBO version, which has Londo and these scenes intercut into it. So you see Londo as Emperor, which I was totally bummed about because I didn't want to know that he was going to become Emperor
spoiler,
one day.
Yeah.
And he's an old Emperor talking about a story, and it's The Gathering. So I just thought that was interesting that is the first episode available on the HBO order of the show. We didn't have the version that we watched.
Yeah, it's a weird choice because I know JMS went back and redid The Gathering, did a sort of director's cut, or whatever you want to call it, and inserted that stuff in, trimmed out some other things or whatever. But so at least in that case, it's approved, and I guess that's him saying that it's okay for us to know that if you're going to watch that version to start the show with, then that's approved by the creator to start with that. But yeah,
I want to say the scene where he's super young and talking to, I don't know if it's Earth President or Earth Force leader.
No, it's not the president. It's the general we saw in the battle towards the end of season 4. Remember the one that comes in and saves Sheridan in the last second?
Yeah.
That's him.
So when they're talking about we just defeated the Dilgar, we can take on the Minbari. That and he's saying, oh yeah, the hubris of men or whatever.
There's a lot of that in this episode.
I feel like I saw
humans being arrogant shitheads, right? There's a lot of that in this episode with the hubris.
Yeah. So I feel like I saw that earlier too. Maybe in The Gathering recut.
Maybe they do that in as well.
Which is, I don't know. It's whatever, but I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's disappointing to have the opening episode or pilot episode of your show spoil things that you can speculate later on.
Yeah, I think when they switched over to the remastered HD versions, it swapped the gallery now on the services to the redone one rather than the original version, which is the one we watched when we started the show.
Yeah.
Which,
anyway, yeah,
it's a bit of a taste thing. Perhaps maybe it's subjective which one you think is the better choice to start with. I would say, this episode does have a few bits that are taken from episodes that had flashbacks already, which makes sense because we saw Ducat's death a little bit before, so it makes sense to use that footage again when it happens. But we get it from a different context this time because we see like the airship and we see like the game of cat and mouse that leads to them firing on each other and all that stuff. And same with and I was wondering, like, if this is going to build up to the Battle of the Line as the end of the Earth Minbari War, are we going to see Sinclair? Are we going to see his bit? And sure enough, we do. We see Sinclair, and it's all just reused footage.
You hear him first and went, oh, wait a second.
It was a nice moment because you recognise his voice, and it's been so long since we heard it. It was like, Sinclair's there, yeah. So it's and they give him a credit, which I don't think they actually technically had to do. Obviously, it's a nice thing to do, but they didn't have to because it wasn't new footage. They could have just, archive footage is all it really counts as, but they said, special appearance by Michael O'Hare, so it's a nice little,
Yeah.
So, I will say the things I did like in this, I like some of the future stuff with Londo just because, there's a moment where he asks the kid what he wants and he asks for a story, and he sort of like chuckles and goes, "You did much better with that question than I did," and I like those little reflective moments, because at the end of the stuff, because it keeps coming back to him obviously as he's telling the story. At the end, when he says, "I'll get me some more booze," and then wait an hour, I was like. And I actually got it. I was almost annoyed that they showed him watching the security footage of like Delenn and Sheridan.
He's just watching Babylon 5 in his own personal room. It's all right.
But no, it bugged me though because I got from the implication of him saying that he needs more booze to get, because that's what it was. He has to get drunk so the parasite won't, be in control. And I was like, no.
Yeah, we already got that, yeah.
I feel smart for understanding that, and then you've showed me this just in case the dumb people don't get it. It annoyed me.
No, I got it too. I'm like, oh, okay, I remember like why this is happening. And then he started watching Babylon 5, and I thought, okay, I don't know. It wasn't necessary.
No, it wasn't necessary. It was just kind of there to like beat you over the head with it, just in case you didn't get the callback. But like I did appreciate those little moments with him being reflective and like old Londo being repentant for what he's done, knowing how his life's going to end, but ultimately he's made a lot of better choices since his worst mistakes, kind of thing. When
he rings the bell and he calls for booze and we don't see the person that shows up, it's not Jakar, right? Even though Jakar's kind of like his friend. And
I think, you know what's funny? I thought it was going to reveal that it was Jakar, but I assume it's not, because I assume he can only speak to Jakar properly when he's drunk, if for the parasite reasons. I could be wrong there, but
yeah,
because you only see it, whoever it is, you only see from behind, and he's wearing like dark clothes, so I thought it could be Jakar, but never shows. So I assume it's not. I assume it's just like, it doesn't matter. It's just a servant or whoever. But it's neat. I did love him asking the kid though, what do you want? Because I never even clocked that it was like a callback to Morden asking that until he said oh, you did much better with that question than I did. I was like, oh.
It's hard not to hear that question and not think of Morden.
Yeah, well, very good. The other thing I liked, I'd probably say I liked a little bit more of the Minbari stuff, particularly. So we see the cat with Kosh, which nice to see Kosh again, obviously, because it's been a while.
I was actually very, I don't know, I was really excited to see Kosh.
Yeah, we actually see Kosh in another role in it one, because later on there's two of them, and I was like, oh, who's his friend?
Isn't it just Kosh 2.0?
Oh, maybe it is. I don't remember.
He's got the red light.
It probably is. I don't remember specifically what his suit looked like. I mean,
it's got to be the same suit, right? Because how many suits do they really make for Vorlons?
I mean, that's probably the reason why it's the same suit. Is it meant to be that same character? I don't know, but I actually really like the moment where, so the war starts, right? So the Earthship that Sheridan is on Oh, no, sorry, he's not on. But Sheridan sets up that the captain of the airship that's going out there to like sort of recon Minbari space is a bit of a hothead. So when he starts acting like a dick when he's like giving his orders, and now we're going to go up and poke them in the face and see what's what. And he does try to flee before they're going to have to fight, but then they can't because the Minbari sensors are screwing up their navigation and whatnot. But so we've heard this before in the past that the Minbari, and I'm glad that Ducat actually calls this out. Because like the warrior guy, the warrior cast guy comes in and goes, "We've opened up all the weapon things to show as a sign of respect." And Ducat's like, "You idiot! We understand that's a friendly thing, but everyone else is going to think we're going to fire on them." I love that one of them actually has the foresight to think, you know what? Maybe other species and races would see that as threatening.
Yeah, especially super intelligent races.
Yeah. So naturally they are, shit fires on them, and we get the clip of Delenn shouting, "No, go after them." So she's got the deciding vote. She's just been added to the Grey Council.
Genocide.
The moment I love though is that once the war's been going for a little bit, and Delenn meets Kosh for the first time. And he's like, "You're a Vorlon, oh my god." And then like the hologram recording of the cat plays, and the first thing he says is, "Now the humans, this species, the humans, they're the key to fighting the shadows. We must befriend the humans." And it was a really darkly funny moment where I'm like, Delenn could have almost went, "Oh." We just started this huge war with them, and now we need to be friends with them.
But I did it for you, Ducat. Yeah.
I like that.
The Vorlons could have chimed in,
I like that massive whoopsie. I thought that was a good little moment of because we've been hearing so much build up throughout this course of the show of like how humans are tied to Minbari, and obviously we know why, and Villain, and that's Sinclair going back and all that. But I love just a little bit of the extra context here of like her discovering that the humans are important in the context of this war, and like shit, this war is actually just this huge thing now that's in the way. We have to like try and solve this quickly. And ultimately, the way they prove to the other Minbari that they have to stop is when they get Sinclair and say, "Hey, he's got Minbari's soul in him. Like, there's something going on here. We can't fight them." So
yeah, this made me think of something. So like she says not just Minbari's soul, but Valen's soul, which makes sense now because we know that it's Valen's soul because he is Valen. So we were told that the Minbari stopped the war against the humans because they realized that humans have Minbari souls. At least some of them do.
Yeah, at least one does.
But now we know that that's not really true because the only soul that they can confirm was Valen's soul, but that's because he is Valen. So it's not really a soul transfer. It's just him. Does that kind of like fly in the face of what Delenn like believes?
No, not at all.
About souls entirely.
No, not at all. This completely works with that. If anything, it just makes it make more sense.
Well, yeah, okay, but it doesn't make sense that that she would believe that all humans are capable of having a Minbari soul. Just that this one guy does.
But why would she not? Why would she not think it's possible for other humans to also have Minbari soul? Just because she knows that Sinclair's might be a part of Valen's soul, or just be Valen's soul outright. I'm not
talking about right now. I'm talking about like future Delenn, once she realizes that Sinclair is Valen, in fact Valen.
Okay, right. So
doesn't that just like fly in the face of everything she believes?
Well, no. If anything, this makes all this make more sense to me because, when they talk about Valen had this prophecy, the shadows only come back, I'm sitting here going, "Oh, it's not a prophecy. He knows they're coming back because he's coming back from the, he came back from the future."
That's what I'm saying. Now all of this has like a scientific basis, and we understand. So it's not a soul thing, and it's not a prophecy thing. It's just it's not a religious thing anymore. Now it's just fact and science.
Well, no, because if she really believes it, then she'll say this is what This just proves her religion is right, that all this works. This is the religious kind of thing 101, is it not? Where all of this is meant to be and this all works out because that's like, it just proves the religion is true.
Or it just proves that time travel is true.
Like, I'm not disagreeing with the cold hard logic here. I don't agree that this would change her mind as how she views any of this. To me, I would say her discovering this is her like sort of like understanding what she's believed the whole time better. That's how she would see it. She would see this as kind of like, I don't know, reinforcing or justifying even like those beliefs. It adds a layer to it. It certainly adds a layer where some of it is less like spiritual now, and it's more just straight up. No, the reason why, because it's not just one person necessarily. I mean, it's maybe one human, but there's going to be part of what they see as the Minbari soul is going to be part human, because like we said, we joked about him Genghis Khan in it, back in the day, but the idea that through the generations that he started when he was Valen, like there'll be a little bit of human in so many Minbari. So like,
yeah, that I guess that's true. I'm not really sure how the chrysalis thing works, if it just completely changes your DNA to where you're not human anymore. But
well, I mean, Delen's still part Minbari.
Yeah, she seems to not have completed the whole process. Like she got out, she was a little premature or something, so she could keep the bones.
Well, that's
the
the other
bones
thing.
in the forehead.
We get to see more full bone Delen in this episode, which is nice.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about the return of the tiny ears.
But for consistency, they have to have it here.
Yeah, I know. I just they weird me out. The weird low jawline ears.
Yeah, but just on the prophecy thing, I actually love that. One of my favorite feelings of watching this was when this guy who runs the Rangers at this time, and the Rangers are kind of a joke to them in Barry at this point in time. They don't really take it seriously, which kind of ties up nicely to the future we saw in the season 4 finale, where it's kind of this like, this is just a bunch of nonsense that a couple of religious guys believe. It's not a real thing, you have to take it on faith. It's kind of the same here in this timeline of the Minbari, that before the shadows actually do start showing up and people start believing it again, it's kind of seen as this, you're this weird offshoot that no one takes seriously, but they believe that the shadows are coming back and blah blah. But when he's talking about the shadows coming back and I talk about prophecy, I did like the feeling of, I actually like when they start saying Villain said in 1,000 years they'd come back, and I'm like, yeah, of course he's accurate, he's right, he knows.
Yeah,
because he's from this time. He knows they're about to come back. Yeah. You say
Valen very strange. Or Valen. Valen.
Valen, whatever.
Valen, yeah.
I don't care. I also thought it was interesting they established that Londo did have more hair at the front at one point, and he just kind of balded a bit.
Yeah, I don't think Peter Jurassic is actually a bald man.
No, I don't think so. No, he's got like kind of curly hair, but judging from his photo on IMDb. But I guess it was just a way to distinguish this as younger Londo. That he did have a bit more at the front. He still sticks it up, and the cool thing is because obviously it's this big fake wig anyway. It doesn't actually look any less or more fake because he has this extra bit. So yeah, it's like it's fine, whatever. I can roll with it.
I enjoyed seeing young Londo.
Yeah, I enjoyed the little bits of mythology here, where because we knew that Earth had like sort of allied with Centauri first, and we know that they also got weapons from the Narn during the Centauri War. So those little bits of like sort of sprinkling that in, and
they got jump gates from them too.
Yeah. Well, they got jump gates from the Centauri, I think. Oh,
that's I'm sorry. That's what I thought you were talking about.
No, because they met them first, so they get the jump gates from them. But we know that they turned to the Narn for weaponry during the war. So it made sense to me when the guy goes and like Jakar's there, and it's this, this thing. Again, the problem I had is when it's Jakar, Franklin, and Sheridan are on a mission together. That segment felt really forced to me. That felt like a
very like segment. Here's your bridge crew. In the prequel, before they all knew each other, they knew each other. What? I don't know.
I'd love to go back and
awfully coincidental.
I'd love to go back and see Sheridan's reaction to Jakar the first time he meets him in season 2 and see if it links up. Because I can buy to some extent from memory if Franklin maybe said he knew who he was, because if I remember correctly, Garibaldi was the one who didn't know him. Like he was the one who really didn't know him or trust him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think
it was
Franklin.
Ivanova's word that everyone followed. Yeah, because she's the one who knew him well.
So I don't remember to what extent Franklin said he knew who he was or had worked with him before. Maybe he did. Maybe he says, yeah, I've worked with him once or twice, and like it does link up well enough. I don't know.
It is interesting that they wouldn't have added Ivanova, since they got the actors to come in at least for a day, that they wouldn't have tried to write this for her to be more involved in it, since it's a prequel, and she does know Sheridan from the previous. Maybe she couldn't commit to the filming schedule.
I would say two things. One, yeah, they probably only got her for like, I mean, you say a day. She's in that might have been like an hour they had her for. And two, I think that would feel forced in the sense that she's not supposed to have signed up yet to Earth Force, so that would feel a bit weird. At least.
Okay, yeah, I guess I don't remember her talking about having a brother in the previously, so maybe it does line up with what she's said in the past.
Yeah, I think her brother dying in the war was established. That I recall that being a thing.
Okay.
Like I say, like this little team together going on a mission, and obviously they know that they can't properly meet Delenn, so when they do kind of interact with Delenn, she's got the hood down and they can't see her. Like, you know, it's a bit.
Even that was just a little bit much for me, I thought.
No, I agree. It's a bit cutesy. It's a bit you're having your cake and eating it too. And this is the sort of stuff I don't like in prequels. I don't like when they muddy the backstory by having people cross paths that weren't supposed to cross paths. Once in a while, if you do it in the right way, where like they like, you know, ships in the night kind of thing, like it can kind of work in a weird way. But that's like a 1 in 10 kind of, like most of the time it comes off as just like, oh, you want to do these things and you're doing the prequel, and it feels kind of bullshit. I kind of felt that during this segment, right? I think most of the stuff before this middle part of the episode was fine, and I think the ending stuff was fine, because the Battle of the Line stuff all kind of links up with what we saw before. It was
fun. It was fun to make the connections.
And I appreciate that they did try and end the war early. They tried to, you know, meet up with this leader of the Rangers, Lennon his name was, and they try to do that, but it falls apart. Actually, one thing I did like about this is I loved that even though obviously we understand the Minbari when we see them in scenes, they do establish that they are speaking a different language. And this is a very comic book way of doing it, because in comic books when you're reading like different languages, it'll just be in English obviously, but it'll say asterisks, you know, translated from whatever. I actually like this method of doing it, where because they're going to give us subtitles anyway, so rather than like make us sit through horrible Klingon like Star Trek Discovery season 1 did, they just have them in English, except for when they're talking directly to humans and there has to be a difference. They'll just do it in English and we just accept that no, they're actually speaking in Minbari, but for the sake of us enjoying the show, it's in English for us.
Sure, yeah.
I like that. I like that technique.
It's a little odd, I'll admit, actually. I was a little confused at first of why they were speaking English.
But they're not. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, no, they're not. But I had to be like, what's happening? They're not supposed to know English. They barely know humans.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing. The Minbari are very mysterious to them. That's the whole point of this first ship, or set of ships that go out, is that they want to try and learn more about them, because the humans are being a bit aggressive with the expansion and wanting to, you know.
Yeah, well, that's what happens.
Yeah, because
we like to colonize.
There are a bunch of cocky bastards in this episode. I mean, the Sheridan isn't. Sheridan's very level-headed and is constantly like arguing for better ideas and stuff. But
yeah,
you know, and we also see obviously his maneuver that, you know, destroys a Minbari ship, and like they have like everyone cheering when they show this back at the base after they've done it.
Yeah, he's the only one who's able to do it, right? Only one able to take down a ship.
What I think's interesting is that happens quite early on, right? And then they mention it goes on for 2 years, so we know that that's the only Minbari ship they ever destroyed. So that means like for the next like nearly 2 years of this war, it was just nothing but losses, and the humans just kept getting their asses kicked.
Yeah, Sheridan gave humanity a false hope.
I mean, hell, we get a speech from the president at one point, which is like, the Minbari are coming towards Earth, and to be honest, we're just evacuating, and this might be like the twilight of the human race. And it's really
basically,
like,
yeah, it's just super sad.
Like, we might not be able to fight these guys, and they're not responding to any surrender.
You can't tell us to like go under a desk and cover our heads or something. There's no false hope.
And I do appreciate that Londo, like his early scene, kind of sets this up, that he's like, no, we're not getting involved with the Minbari. Like they'll whip everyone's ass if we even try. Like,
yeah.
I'm advising you not to go poking it in Minbari space.
Well, we took on the Dilgar. Still a funny name.
Yeah. Well, clearly the one with a sillier name is the one that was easy to beat because they're a bit sillier, just inherently.
Obviously.
Right?
We don't know what they look like, but I bet it looks pretty silly.
I'm imagining like original series Star Trek Gorn as opposed to whatever the new Gorn's going to look like in Strange New Worlds, because I'm sure it's going to look cool.
Yeah.
But original Gorn. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. Dilgar. Like, maybe I don't think we've seen Dilgar. So people in the comments could tell us if we've actually seen a Dilgar walking around, but I don't think we have.
I think they look like those green things in Minecraft.
Sure, I've never played Minecraft, but
the creepers they're called, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure they're
That's
very.
what Dilgar look like.
I'm sure they're very blocky though, just because I'm familiar with what Minecraft in general looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was an interesting thing to watch. I'm not mad it exists. I do think some of it suffers from the prequel bullshit that I don't like in prequels inherently. I hate the wink wink nudge nudge to things, but I will say the advantage that Babylon 5 has, and I said this in the season 4 finale, is that GMS clearly has like a mythology bible, and he understands where the show's going, what the past was, and he has like a rough idea of what like the future, past and present of the Narn, what the future, past and present of the Minbari are. Like he has all of this like written down somewhere. So all these extra little tidbits that feel very natural and feel like they fit into what we already knew, and these little extra details with the Vorlons and the Minbari, all of that fits so nicely and made sense. But then you have the other stuff that I don't like, which is, half the main characters go on a mission together, and it didn't really feel like, and even if you say, well, it was top secret and they were never allowed to talk about it, well, yeah, it annoyed me in Discovery when they had to like say, oh yeah, everything that happened with this show is top secret now, and that's why it was never mentioned.
Stop bringing up Discovery and how much you hate it, please?
No, this is just a good comparison, though. This is just a good comparison. It is.
I'm tired of it.
Because they had to like, well, this is why it was never mentioned in any other Star Trek, is because they had to wipe it off from the records, and it's an excuse, and this is not as egregious as that, but like, if you're going to offer that point to me,
this is worse.
It is not. Shut up.
It is worse. Your entire bridge crew, or at least most of them, is we're all on a top secret mission together.
Stop saying okay.
And
stop.
they met.
Tara, you can't keep calling them bridge crew. Almost none of them are actually ever on the bridge.
You know what I mean.
Jakar's not on the bridge.
Your main cast are all together.
Franklin's not on the bridge.
You know what I mean, though. They're all together. Oh, you're going to meet the woman you're going to marry one day, and she's an alien, and this is actually the first time they met, and they never talked about it or whatever. It's terrible. I don't like that at all.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it feels like she should have told him. He doesn't know, but it feels like she should have mentioned this at some point. Oh, by the way, I saw you once, like, at the start of the war, or near the start of the war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, by the way, I'm the one that like gave the okay to go to war and almost wipe out your whole planet and species.
I did appreciate though that once the Minbari started like going after outposts and stuff, because she just wanted to kill the ships that like hit them, right? But because we see a scene with her like a couple of scenes later where she's like, okay, this is enough now, like let's stop this, we don't have to like kill their entire species and like everywhere they live.
Yeah, but the war cast are too into it.
Oh yeah, they're and
we have war.
And the Ranger points this out. That he actually says, I think you're enjoying this war because this is one that you can easily win, and basically implies they're a bunch of cowards because they're picking on a weaker enemy. Which I thought was an interesting little, it's some of that internal Minbari like politicking and stuff that is fun to poke at.
Yeah.
But yeah. No, but I am in agreement. Like you're only picking a fight with me because I'm comparing it to Discovery, but I am in agreement that middle part of the episode is the prequel stuff that I do not like, because it feels like it doesn't fit, and yeah, so it's a bit too cutesy.
I don't want to talk about the Discovery stuff, but like I will say, like that stuff didn't bother me. This stuff, it does bother me. Like I don't know. It was just. You wanted to get everybody, from the main crew in there that we all recognized, and it doesn't work.
The thing is though,
maybe it's not as egregious because to fans and stuff are like, oh, but everything lines up and it doesn't actually break anything, but it feels wrong when you watch it. It feels like it's forced.
Yeah, but only that middle section. This is the thing, is that they got everyone in there separately and it felt fine. Like Franklin scene on his own fit perfectly and didn't feel like there was being too cutesy. Sheridan on his own for taking down the ship, and then Sinclair being at the back of the line, Yvonne ever with her brother, like all of them separately, Jakar in his role that he was playing, Londo in his role that he played, they all made sense on their own. But then they had to just throw like 3 or 4 of them together into a mission, and it just felt like this feels too much. It feels like like because I love the end where like they're building the first Babylon station, right? And the president's like, oh, we're going to build the Babylon, and I love that it's not Babylon 1 because they don't know there's going to be a second. they think it'll just be the first one.
Babylon Prime.
Yeah. So they're like, oh, we're building the Babylon station, and then obviously it explodes. And actually, I never really thought about this before. This is a little detail at the end I liked, is we see like it explode, and Londo says, it didn't go so well. It took several attempts, but eventually they got it right.
Just like the last episode, huh?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is it's just like humanity and everything, or even not just humanity, all the intelligent races that are working together, they try and get it right. It doesn't work the first time completely. It works for 500 years, then it falls apart. But then they get it right eventually, and they all ascend into Vorlon-esque beings, and it's great. So I like that little comparison between the station and just like civilization in general evolving. There was a neat touch. So there's things in this I like. I don't necessarily think
I mean, I like most of the Minbari stuff. I like the seeing the storyline and how they connected to all the episodes that we've seen already. So we're kind of expecting to see stuff. I'm expecting to see Sinclair at one point because they got to show him when he's doing the thing and he's like, getting whipped or whatever. I can't remember. Well, he's getting interrogated by the Minbari. He's in the position where he's going to get whipped, but yeah, I just remember it differently.
There was no whipping.
He's being tortured, I was expecting to see that.
Okay.
But I still enjoyed all that. I like the connections to the previous episodes.
I don't remember if this was in, because obviously we saw some of this stuff where they had Sinclair, when they got him at the back of the line. I don't remember if the specific moment, because it felt like it was a body double in the scene because of the way it was shot, where like Sinclair's got his back to them in the background. But there's a detail here that I liked where they said, okay, Bren, a telepath, and erase his memory of all this. And obviously that was a big part of season 1, is that he was like getting flashes and he was starting to remember things.
I definitely think that's a body double, yeah.
But the point I'm getting to though is that he, like she says, like one of them says, well, what if he? I think it's Ethan Rayne from the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, who's one of them in Barry in this. But when one of them says, what if he like remembers, or what if we need to make sure that he doesn't remember any of this? And she says, well, we'll try and keep him close then, one way or another. And that ties into them picking him for Babylon 5 and Delenn being there so that she can keep an eye on him and stuff. Obviously, that's not immediately. It's going to take a few years to get to Babylon 5, but it's interesting. Yeah. It's just, I like those things kind of lining up. That all makes sense to me.
Well, I'm sure she became an ambassador even before Babylon started. Was because so she can be on Earth and stay close to Sinclair.
Okay, I think we forget this now because it's been so long, and we know what the Grey Council is. But like, her being a part of the Grey Council was secret. Back in season 1, that was like linear. You shut your mouth. You do not mention that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's we don't talk about that to the outsiders. So yeah. So it falls prey to the prequel things in the middle, but there are some nice things in here. If I was waiting on season 5 and they're like, okay, you're getting this movie in between, sort of like a just satiate your appetite a little bit, I'd be quite happy with this as a little thing. But
yeah, I'm sure that's true. Yeah.
But I also don't necessarily think it needs to exist, but it does have some nice things in it to enjoy.
Yep, and it's not spoiling that Londo becomes emperor because we've already seen that previously, so it's all right.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. This spoils it doesn't outright say that Sinclair is Valen, but if you saw this before you got to that reveal, you'd be pissed because it heavily points at it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But it's a weird one. I feel weird kind of like judging it ultimately because it does kind of feel like I don't know if this feels like TNT which is what it switched to, wanted a movie, and like JMS just had to kind of like, oh well, I guess I could do something like this, rather than because it was a story that felt like it needed to be told in more detail.
Is it strange that we get like 4 movies for this final season, and the show was canceled? I don't know. It feels like TNT is doing a lot of extra things for Babylon 5 season 5, and then it's not. And then that's it though. It's just 5 seasons.
I don't know. TNT needed more program at the time. I have no idea why they were like doing all this extra stuff. But yeah, like you say, there's this movie before season 5 aired, and then there's 2 towards the end of season 5. And I have no idea if those 2 movies towards the end of season 5 are set, in between those episodes, or if they are like this one and they're kind of like separate parts of the mythology that are just kind of standalone. I don't know. No one tell us. We'll find out when we get there. But
yeah, we'll find out. I don't know. I was just curious, like why would they put so much time into like, okay, you can have one more season with us, and that's it. But also we want TV movies, but that's it. Like they seem, if a show started to have TV movies, it sounds like, oh, they really believe in this property and they're gonna.
Well, my assumption would be
put
that
a lot of money into it.
I'm speculating here, but my assumption would be at the time TNT were maybe trying to like make more of a statement saying, hey, we're moving into like scripted programming. Maybe that wasn't something they did as much of before, and the idea is that, oh, this has got an established fan base, so like we're going to bring them over, and that can work if you're just doing one season. You just want to get people onto the channel to get used to watching TNT. They're like, okay, we'll get all the Babylon 5 fans over, and I mean, this movie was in between the seasons, and then we looked ahead to just the timeline of like when stuff was released, and the next 2 movies are when there's a pretty big gap, more or less, in the season. There's it's like a June to October gap, and one of the movies takes place in that, or is released during that, I should say. So like it almost seems like they just wanted to have like a full year of Babylon 5 content to like help promote the channel, and given that they just had the season 4 finale pushed to the end of season 5. It makes it sound like to me that JMS and co knew that they were only getting one more season. It wasn't like, oh, this might keep going for years and years.
Yeah, I mean that crossed my mind also. Maybe it was just that they only knew they had one season.
Yeah, because like they said they were cancelling. JMS like wrote season 4 to wrap everything up pretty much, and then they said no, we actually want one more on TNT. So I suspect that when they made that request, he's like, well, okay, I could probably do one more, but like that's it. Like there's nothing left other than maybe
one more and some movies, maybe.
Yeah, a couple of movies. So
yeah, and a spin-off.
Well, not at the time. That was an idea from later, I assume.
I assume too,
because it was years later. So I assume he hadn't had the idea for that yet, but. Yeah. All
right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, I'd put it as like, I know it does feel kind of special because it is a movie, and there's a lot that ties into some big episodes that we've watched. But overall, I'm kind of middle of the road in this one.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think it's got a lot of little things in it I like. I don't know if it's enough to justify the whole thing needing to exist, but like, I think for me, it's like, at this point, I'm almost annoyed that we had to go through this before we could start season 5. Even though season 5 I know has got a mixed reception, so maybe, like, I'll be longing for this maybe once we're into season 5, but
maybe, who knows?
It's almost this hurdle you have to go through at this point. But like I say, I think if I was watching it as it was airing, and we knew we were getting season 5 for another, say, 6 months, it'd be like, no, but you're getting a movie. I was like, oh, great, like, yeah, like, let's have a little taste of B5. And the time off, like that would probably feel quite special. So, but it's nice to get a little Ivanova scene in though. In fact, I did actually on one of the posters for the movies that was coming up during season 5, Ivanova is on the poster, so I suspect that it's not set during the middle of season 5 for that reason.
Oh, I see.
That I'm thinking about it, which is cool. It's cool that they got her for a movie though in the middle of season 5, because we're going to be missing her. I'm assuming we're going to be missing Ivanova, so.
Yeah, maybe Cheekbone Lady is great, but
Cat Grant, yes.
yes, but I really like Ivanova, but I'm sad that she's gone.
Yes. So yeah, we'll see how Cat Grant from Lois and Clark blends into the cast.
Is that her name or her character name?
As a character in Lois and Clark. Her name is,
Oh, okay.
I might say Tracy Scroggins, maybe? Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds Scottish.
I don't think it is, but...
Scoggins?
Yes, I've never heard of a Scottish person named Scoggins before. Thank you very much. Sounds more like a hobbit from that dumb series that everyone likes.
Oh, yeah. Everyone likes it.
Everyone does.
Including JMS.
I know. Hey, like, the creators of things that I like can like things I don't like. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Whatever influences they have is completely fine. As long as they made the thing I like, it doesn't matter.
Khazad-dûm.
Zahadum, I think you'll find.
Yeah. Which gets a shout out in this too.
Yeah, they mentioned it. They mentioned going to try and see if like the shadows are back yet. Which, you know. And that's the other thing, you keep in mind that this is 10 years before the start of the show, so you sort of, you know, you get this timeline. Which, you know, makes sense. They're on the 5th Babylon station and it's just launched, you know, in the gathering. I don't know if they say it's been like up for like 6 months or something in the gathering, but it's something like that. You know, it's fresh, it's new.
Yep.
Anyway, there you go. That's Babylon 5 in the beginning. Let us know what you thought of this TV movie. In the comments, like, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications, all that stuff. Hit the super thanks button if you want to support us, but you can also support us somewhere else, can't they, Tara?
That's right, Peter. If you enjoy our movie reviews, please check out our movie channel. It is Fuzz Movies, where you can listen to us talk about science fiction films and we'll review them. Also, you can go to patreon.com/MalfuzzTV, where you can donate and get extra things like Babylon 5 6 days early for $5 per month. Thank you.
Well, there you go. Thank you very much for joining us, everyone. Keep watching Babylon 5. Just don't give away the home world.